see if anybody shows up.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any time in your head. Would you like me to light a task? Would you like me to find a task later for you?
It doesn't matter. You are welcome to it.
And then, you know, if a kid comes in during the greeting, I'll ask if they want to light the chalice, you know?
Thank you, Carl. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. My name is Todd. My pronouns are he, him. I will be your service coordinator this morning. Please turn off your phones if you haven't done so already. As always, let's respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Peguesit people. As you might know, the Bureau of Indian Affairs has been reconsidering the rule that prohibits tribes who have been denied federal recognition from reapplying. And actually quite a few members of this congregation submitted written comments in support of the proposed rule change last fall. The BIA has not acted yet, and it's not clear whether they will act before the new administration takes office. And it's also not clear what the new administration's view of the matter will be, but we will keep an eye on that. And we will also watch for other opportunities to show support for our Peguesit and other indigenous neighbors. Whether you're arriving here this morning excited for the new year or exhausted from the last one, or maybe a little of both, it's good that you're here, and it's good to be together. Let's take a minute, first of all, to wave hello to everybody who's joining us online, and then say hi to your neighbor here in the room, and then we'll get started. Thank you. Let's see, as far as announcements, I'm not sure that we have any announcements to be read from the pulpit.
After, at 11:30, we're gonna take down the tree if people can help with that.
Okay, yeah, that's a good announcement. At 11:30, after the service, we will be taking down the tree. So if there are volunteers here in the fellowship hall that could help with that, that'd be great. Or for those of you who are online, if you want to hop in the car and come down and help, that would also be appreciated. I would like to note, especially music at the Ridge. This afternoon at 4 o'clock, right here in the fellowship hall. The performers will be George Malice and I'm sorry, Louise Coombe. That's right. Louise will play guitar and George is on keyboards, and you can expect both of them to sing a little. So tickets at the door are $25. If you can stream it as well, and online you can go to eventbrite.com, and I think it's $20 to stream. Is that right, Nancy? These concerts are wonderful. They're a lot of fun. You are guaranteed to have a good time. And if you come and you're not having a good time, just let me know, and I will personally pay for your brownies. Our guest today, that's right, you have not paid me yet, Nancy. Our guest speaker today is Jeremy Klein Farrell. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, and one other announcement that really should be noted, and that is that coming up on Saturday, January 25th at 2 p.m., we will be having a reading of the play The Holocaust in Hungary 80 years ago in recognition of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day on January 27th. Now, in the order of service, it says that's a Sunday. It's not a Sunday. That's Saturday, January 25th. So keep that in mind. Our guest speaker today is Jeremy Klein Farrell. And Jeremy is a queer autistic Jewish activist. He's an autism advocate and a professional public speaker. He's an admin for Not Just Us, which holds rallies around the state. Jeremy's also one of the lead organizers of Justice Southbury, holding rallies for 240 consecutive weeks, where he has learned the true power of love, presence, and persistence. He's also pushed back on LGBTQ plus focused book bans. And we're excited to have Jeremy with us, and I look forward to his remarks today. Please rise in body or spirit as you are able and join in our hymn of welcome, Gather the Spirit, number 347. We make this time and place holy simply by being together, and we begin by lighting the flaming chalice as a symbol of our Unitarian tradition. Nell will light our chalice. Thank you. And please join me in reciting the words of the chalice affirmation. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life.
So good to be together. Let's say the words for our children's affirmation, which are in the order of service and hopefully soon up on the screen. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other. Some of you who are in Spirit Play might recognize today's story. So keep an eye out just in case. One late winter afternoon when it was snowing, a chickadee perched on a thin branch of a maple tree and watched the snowflakes fall. A bright red cardinal flew over and landed nearby. "What you doing?" chirped the cardinal. "Watching snowflakes," said the chickadee. The cardinal cocked his head to one side. "What for?" "They're pretty, and each one is different. I haven't seen two that look alike," Chickadee replied. "A snowflake is a snowflake is a snowflake. That's what I say," said the cardinal. "And they're cold. Me, I can't wait for spring. This winter stuff is for the mammals. They have fur on their toes." Whoop. The chickadee nodded so that the little black cap on her head bobbed up and down, but she didn't say yes, and she didn't say no. White snowflakes fell all around them. The cardinal put his foot down and hopped sideways on the branch to get a little closer to her. "What you doing now?" he said. "Counting snowflakes," said Chickadee. The cardinal cocked his head to the other side. "What on sky for?" "I was wondering how many snowflakes this branch will hold," Chickadee said. "Don't worry about it. That's what I say," said the cardinal. "Snowflakes don't weigh anything." "Not anything," replied Chickadee. "Well, almost nothing. Snowflakes weigh next to nothing. They don't count for anything, and they're all the same." He clacked his strong beak once, twice, and then again. "You know what, little chickadee? You should find something else to do. That's what I say." Chickadee nodded so that the little black cap on her head bobbed up and down, but she didn't say yes, and she didn't say no. After a minute, the cardinal clacked his beak once more, then flapped his strong red wings and flew away. The chickadee stayed where she was, perched on the thin branch of the maple tree and counting the snowflakes as they fell. Snowflakes fell all around her, each one different, each one beautiful. Some of them landed on the branch, snowflake after snowflake, each one weighing almost nothing, but each one counting for something. Because as the chickadee counted snowflake number 10,303, the branch broke from the weight of the snow. While holding the chickadee fell with the branch, but only for a moment, for she flapped her wings and flew up into the snowflakes that fell from the sky. Each snowflake different, each snowflake beautiful, each snowflake counting for something in its own way. So ends the story. And I'll invite, Lana, would you mind coming forward and lighting our lantern light? And I'm going to invite Maisie, would you mind getting the basket and doing our food collection. If you have some food to offer to the Dorothy Day Hospitality House, you can give that to some of the kids that'll be coming around to collect that. And then we'll sing This Little Light of Mine as the kids depart. Any more food?
It's time for our shared milestones, silent and spoken. First of all, the silent milestones. If you'd like to place a stone in the bowl in recognition of something that's in your heart or on your mind, please do so now.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy Klein Farrell. Thank you all so much for being here today. It's my absolute honor. If I understand correctly, next is the reading. So I'm going to read an excerpt of something I picked out for this sermon. As I will talk about during the messaging portion, a lot of this is about community. It's something I believe in, creating spaces for community. And this is the author's note from a graphic novel called Across a Field of Starlight by the author Blue Delaquanti. And this is the author's note in the back of the book. I have always been fascinated by stories about space and adventure. I love having conversations with friends about the idea of utopia, a world where everything exists in harmony, a world where everything exists in harmony and everyone's basic needs are met. What might that look like? I worked on Across a Field of Starlight from 2019 to 2021, which, as I'm writing this, continues to be a very difficult time for my community, my city, Minneapolis, and my country, the United States. My friends are doing their best to live happy and healthy lives, as openly and as queer and as trans people. But with that visibility comes hostility from those who refuse to understand them. My city is still figuring out how to move forward from the George Floyd uprising, where neighbors came together to protect each other from police brutality. And my country is still recovering from a pandemic that left most of us to fend for ourselves. This year, The year I started working on this book was the year the United States celebrated its 50th anniversary of landing on the moon. The next year, millions of Americans grappled with a government that did not show the power or the will to keep them fed, housed, and healthy. A common conversation I've had with people over the past few years is based around the question of what we deserve. Can we live in a society that provides everyone with food, shelter, or healthcare, even those who can't afford it? Does everyone deserve it? Many people have been told they are undeserving of certain things based on who they are or what they have. My personal experience with this comes from living openly as a queer person, and that informed the kind of story I wanted to tell. Queer people, especially queer children, are told to expect less in terms of their own basic rights and settle for less when it comes to acceptance and love. This all affects how we live, how we think about ourselves, and what we feel obligated to do just to get by. How can anybody think of traveling to the moon if they don't know where they'll sleep that night? How can anybody dream of going to the stars if they're told they don't deserve them? When I struggled with how Fasten and Lose, the characters of the story, stories might end, I suggested the I Ching, a book from ancient China that has been used to understand stories for centuries. It suggested an action that feels small, but one that becomes more powerful the longer and more you persevere. I played with that concept, and it became the backbone of this book. Small choices made by small people inspire others to think about their lives differently until they all create momentum toward a better world. I hope that this is something I can practice in my own life too. It often feels hard to do the right thing when I see others being rewarded for cruelty. Sometimes it is impossible to tell whether the work I do even makes a positive difference. But hopefully, by persevering and keeping my friends and communities safe, we will come out of hard times into a better world we helped make possible. With everyone working together and recognizing each other's humanity, we will all get to space one day, and we will all have enough. Thank you.
Each month, we share our offering with an organization or a group that shares our values. And this month, it is the UUA Disaster Relief Fund, which, in the wake of a series of hurricanes, is at its lowest level since 2017. So your generosity is much appreciated. And now we have a short video about the fund. Thanks, Barb.
Hi, my name is Beth Casebolt, and I am a member of the UUA's Disaster Relief Fund team. When disaster hits a community, people want to help. Often that takes the form of contributing financially to organizations that they trust, organizations that they know have the relationships necessary to convert monetary donations into real-life support for the people who need it. The UUA's Disaster Relief Fund does just that. We receive donations from congregations and individuals who want to support Unitarian Universalist congregations and their wider communities in need. And we review grant applications and distribute those funds to congregations and communities following a disaster. Grants from the Disaster Relief Fund helped congregations care for their buildings and the needs of their members, as well as supporting people in the wider community, especially those who may not be eligible for other grant programs. Where have our grants gone? To Oklahoma City for ice storm cleanup, Ashland, Oregon for fire damage to congregant homes, to Cedar Rapids, Iowa for repairs following the derecho, and Arlington, Virginia for remediating flood damage. Funds have been sent following wildfires, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, ice and snowstorms, and more. In addition, the UUA understands the connection between disaster relief and justice making. It is the most vulnerable populations who suffer worst in a disaster. Disaster relief grants to our UU congregations and related organizations not only help other Unitarian Universalists, they can also support on-the-ground relief efforts through existing partnerships that congregations already have. These grants encourage congregations to build coalitions to meet the needs of their wider communities. Our Disaster Relief Fund is part of a covenant between the UUA and congregations, between congregations who give generously and those in need, and with our community partners. Through aiding our congregations, their members, and their community partners, we are able to embody our faith and values. On behalf of the Disaster Relief Fund team, I thank you for supporting this fund and for sharing our story with others.
When you give of your time and energy to this congregation, or you make a financial contribution to its support, we're giving gifts to each other, and it is much appreciated. We will pass the collection plates now, but there are other ways to give. You can give at the website at any time. Usually, there it is. We have a QR code on the screen, or you can mail a check to 24 Clapboard Ridge Road in Danbury. If you're visiting with us, or this is your first time with us, you're not expected to make a contribution. Your presence here with us is gift enough. Thank you. Thank you. And now we'll have our message from our guest presenter, Jeremy Klein Farrell.
Hello. Glad to be up here again. For 240 straight Sundays, Justice Southbury has held peaceful, positive, uplifting rallies for social justice and racial equity in rain, snow, heat, and cold. Our mission? To cultivate an inclusive community where all are treated fairly and welcomed as equals. Our vision? A more and kind community for all. We have collected education supplies for Afghanistan refugee children. We have helped collect juice for the Southbury Food Bank. We've helped plant and upkeep a community garden in Waterbury. We have collected purses for a purpose. We have collected items for unhoused individuals in Waterbury. We have assisted those in need of guidance with disability and discrimination issues. We have held rallies for Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate, Women's Rights, Hispanic Heritage Month, Black History Month. We've held rallies against LGBTQ-focused book bans and white supremacist literature drops. I have learned through this that good community organizing means community empowerment. I've learned that grassroots means starting right where you stand, with you and your neighbors. Love your neighbor has become a guiding light for us through heavily divisive times and a radically shifting political landscape. Through it all, Justice Southbury has diligently continued its work. But it didn't start this way, of course. Justice Southbury was born in the summer of 2020, during the Black Lives Matter movement that swept the country and the entire globe. It's built on community organizing, and in 2020, I wasn't a community organizer yet. I didn't have any experience community organizing. In fact, I was in the same spot as many people, including possibly people here, sitting there with the shared realization that something in the country I love was so broken that it needed to be addressed. It needed to be fixed. And I had no idea what my part in that was. I didn't know my place in that movement. So I spent the first few weeks very antsy and isolated, trying to find places to go to feel like I could support people. I went to rallies all around the state in Danbury, Waterbury, Torrington, even in my hometown of Brookfield. And I learned a lot through those. But while I was doing that, something very, very special was happening in Southbury, Connecticut. The first rally for Justice Southbury was one of many that sprung up across the country. After the first rally, Julia Bauer Richardson, somebody who had just attended the rally but went on to be one of the co-founders of Justice Southbury, posted on Instagram about the rally, and a few of her friends asked if there was going to be another. So, her and her father, Rick Richardson, the other co-founder of Justice Southbury, went to the organizers Mary and Vivian and asked, "Is there going to be a rally next week?" And they said no. But if there was a rally, that they could use their signs again. So the Richardsons put together another rally, and they held it the next week. And even more people came. And at the end of this rally, Mary and Jack, two people who have become very, very important to Justice Southbury, started leaving with their signs, or the signs that they picked up from Julia. So Julia runs up to them and goes, "Hey, you're taking the signs? I'm happy to take them for you. I can put them in the stack." And Mary and Jack responded, "Don't worry about it. We'll give them to you next week." And Rick and Julia looked at each other and went, "I guess there'll be a next week." And that's how it started. Through those little, simple moments. They started it right where they stood. Something small but persistent begins with little moments of connection and community. During this time, I was traveling the states going to many different rallies, trying to find how I could bring my skill set and the way I approach this to help other people fighting for the right things. I would come to a lot of things with snacks or water because I really liked playing a support role. I like giving people what they need to do the things they want to do, to speak on the issues, to march on the issues, to stand for the issues. And it was difficult to find a place that I really felt I belonged. Until I made it to Southbury. Southbury wasn't just special because of the people who were in it. It wasn't just special because of where it was. It was special because it clicked with me. It felt right. It felt like the way I wanted to be part of this. I wanted to fit into this larger movement that I knew I needed to be part of. I could even use my tabling skills from my career. I started bringing a table and setting it up each week with different literature, and I had space for guest speakers to put their literature. And it was so effective. It meshed so well with the things other people were doing. It felt like we were building something truly special, truly unique, and I got to be part of it in my own unique way. Small moments and big effects. I went to many rallies throughout those few weeks, and I learned a lot. I gained a lot of insight. I grew a lot. But the biggest moment was the first time I pulled into the parking lot next to Justice Southbury. That moment had more ramifications for me and my life than I could have possibly imagined at the time. Such a small moment, but such a big effect. And the effects of Justice Southbury are something I like talking about because we have numbers, and numbers are great. They're easy to quantify, they're easy to remember. And we have numbers that are fun to remember. We've been rallying for 240 weeks straight, regardless of weather. We have had over 18 Zoom speaker series for people who can't make it to the corner. We've been doing this for almost 5 full years now. We've collected hundreds upon hundreds of bottles of juice for the Southbury Food Bank and have had well over 5,000 cumulative total members or total attendees to Justice Southbury rallies. I like those numbers. And I think numbers are fun because they're easy to remember. They're easy to document. But the things that have truly stuck with me, the things about Justice Southbury that have made me personally fulfilled in ways I couldn't have even fathomed, go beyond the numbers. Because community, empowerment, understanding cannot be quantified. It expresses itself organically and genuinely in very special moments. When I think about why Justice Southbury has been so important to me, how it's left a mark on me more than anything I could have imagined, I don't just think about how proud of myself I am for being persistent, or even how proud I am for the people around me for working hard. I think about moments like the 2 families who have come to Justice Southbury to say that they felt comfortable moving to this area because they felt safe and supported after seeing Justice Southbury, that it influenced where they wanted to raise their family. I think about individuals who have come to Justice Southbury to talk about how their queer experience has influenced their life, and at parts of the conversation have said something along the lines of, I'm actually not out to most people in my life, but I felt comfortable coming here to talk about this because I knew I would find support and love. I think about the community gardens we've planted in Waterbury, and when I was helping work on them, the members of the community who were there and were so excited for how this could genuinely change their lives, not just through getting food, but through having consistent access to fruits and vegetables and healthy, fresh food. These are the things that stick with me. And the thing that's so important to understand about Justice Southbury, in the past, in the present, and in the future, is that it's really easy to see it and think we're all about the corner. Justice Southbury is about going to that corner off exit 15 every Sunday at 2 p.m. for 5 years. But it's not for a lot of people. So much of Justice Southbury is built around different people contributing in different ways. This may surprise you, but I like talking. I like getting out there. I like being on the corner each week. I like running the rallies, setting up the tables, recording and editing the speeches so that people can watch them online. But that isn't for everybody. There are many who simply want to set up a collection. There are many who just show up to Zoom speaker series. There are some who simply spread our word on social media or talk to their friends about what they're seeing. There are many who will show up before a Justice Southbury rally to drop off purses for a purpose and then leave. Because they're not comfortable being on the corner as part of the rally, but they want to be part of what's going on here. And we are fully, entirely on board with this. Justice Southbury understands that each person, at their best, contributes in a way unique and specific to them. And the best we can do is offer the support to make sure that they can do the things they feel that they want to. The collections they want to push, the advocacy they want to, the awareness they want to bring, and the advocacy they want to make. Not everyone can come to the corner. And this goes back to something that I heard towards the beginning of Justice Southbury that really stuck with me. Good people doing good things. Justice Southbury is not about some big picture, is not about some straight path forward. It is about manifesting community empowerment and community investment. It's about looking at this and going, you want to do this thing? That is good. How do we support you and make sure it happens? And these ideas of just supporting each other and understanding each other leads to something so unique in activist spaces, in my opinion. It leads to something like the bat signal. The idea that if anybody in the area needs Justice Southbury, they can put up a light and we will be there. And it's called the bat signal because Rick thought it would be really funny to call it that. He found it really charming. He started calling it. It caught on. And now it's what we say. It leads to things like Connie being routinely treated like royalty for being our 5,000th attendee. Connie hasn't attended more rallies than most of the other people there. She is part of the tight group that shows up to at least 3 out of every 4 rallies. But it's a way of reminding ourselves of that wonderful moment where we hit that 5,000 and how special Connie was to that moment. It's something that's fun to remember and reference. It leads to things like the one night rally, when a group tried to counter-protest Justice Southbury by showing up before us through the time we typically are there. So we looked at each other and we went, okay, we'll have a night rally. And a completely different group of Justice Southbury members stepped up to organize a candlelight vigil. And it was unlike any other rally we've ever had before or since. But people stepped up to make it unique, to make it happen in the wonderful way it did. This leads to things like John controlling the weather, a joke that has become so disconnected from any context or reason that we don't even know why we make it anymore. It's just a joke that we keep making. And I love that joke because it doesn't feel like something that could come out of activism or advocacy or big picture work. It can only come out of one thing: friends in a community chatting. It's the power of us being in that same space and getting to know each other, becoming closer with each other, forming connections within our community. When you do that, you don't just get these big picture, huge, intense moments. You get small moments of wonder and joy and excitement with your neighbors. And this has led to a moment I think about very, very regularly. A moment that personally sat with me so powerfully that it has been a huge part of my inspiration to continue this in the years since. During one of our first few years, we had a rally again for stopping Asian hate, which was a very big issue at the moment. And somebody came from an organization to speak about it. And when they got up, they started talking. And I'm just going to let you know right now, you may have noticed, I'm very expressive. I like being expressive. I like being supportive. And that shows at those rallies. So they're talking, and they go, I haven't really been to Justice Southbury. I don't even really know exactly what you guys do, what's going on here. But I know one thing. When I'm done talking, I'll get a woo from Jeremy. And she was right. Of course she was going to. And that's a funny little fun thing. But it's also a moment where I realized that my specific actions created a space that let somebody feel safe enough to speak on something they felt they needed to. That my simple little woos weren't just supportive in some nice, simple way, but were actually meaningful in very real ways at times. That little connection with community and joy and finding it together allowed us to move forward on big and difficult topics. When people ask what Justice Southbury is doing now, I say we are here for the next thing. The organizations that really made a difference in 2020 during the Black Lives Matter movement were not the organizations that were formed that summer. That's not how organizations work. They can't be that effective that quickly. It's the organizations that formed in 2016 during the Black Lives Matter movement, who were ready, who knew that this was going to happen and we needed to have infrastructure and organization for it. That is what I see as Justice Southbury's place moving into the future. There will be a next thing. And I find it hard to imagine what it is going to be, but there will be one. And when that happens, people will know where they can go. They will know that there is a corner waiting for them. There is an organization, there's a group of people, there's a Facebook group waiting for them so they can go and talk about the things that are important to them, feel community, feel love, feel the effort of charting a path forward in difficult times. So what does us getting stronger mean? I believe Justice Southbury continues to get stronger. But what does that look like? Right now we're in the dead of winter. Our numbers are not as high as they usually are for weekly rallies. They will likely go back up. They are not the lowest they've ever been. But it is true that right now we are not hitting 300 people every single week or anything silly like that. So how are we getting stronger? I think we're getting stronger through two things: persistence and investment. With every single week we show up again, we make clear that we are not going anywhere, that our point was strong enough that we will keep making it. With every week we show we have not given up, our point gets stronger. And with every single person who becomes invested in Justice Southbury, we become stronger. With every person's life who we touch, who we change, who we inspire, that makes us stronger because we are here to empower our communities. Many of you will leave today with hopefully Justice Southbury having touched your life in some way through my words and my stories about them. And if you do, I want you to know that makes Justice Southbury stronger, because that means we are fulfilling the promises that we are seeking. And if we can do that, we're happy. The community can do the rest. Communities know what they need to do. They just need to be empowered to do it. And this leads to us moving forward into unforeseen times, chaotic times, times that are difficult to chart a path forward from. I know I am feeling fairly lost on what comes next regarding everything going on. And chaotic times bring disagreement and difficult conversations. But I think we're ready for them. In fact, this is one of the things I think Justice Southbury excels best at, knowing that these conversations have to be part of it. And they have to be part of it because in order to stay together, you have to build bonds. And bonds are not built through nothing. They are built through tribulation. They are built through conversation, through growing as a person, through building connection. Personally, I actually love difficult conversations. I love disagreement in these spaces because it reminds us that we still have work to do as well, not just the people we may disagree with. I believe in community empowerment, that if we empower communities, they will fight for the things they need. And empowerment is the opposite of control. It means believing and supporting each other, even when you might not completely agree. To be challenged by those in your community really leads to doing the work and growing as a person. It makes you stronger and better for those you love and your communities. For your communities, it makes you better. That's so specific to where you are and who you are. The truth is, there is no way to make your own Justice Southbury, because Justice Southbury began right where we stood. And you are going to begin right where you stand. You will build something incredible and beautiful, but it will not look the same. Because at its best, community organizing is empowerment. And when you empower people to do what they want, they express unique, incredible, and beautiful perspectives and ideas. We all need to start right where we stand. These moments right now, right here, have the potential to be monumental. We have the power to make that happen. We can leave this room today and go, I'm going to make sure that those moments change how I do something. Inspired me to push further than I have before, to try something new, to have hope or optimism that I find hard to have these days. These moments have the power, have the potential to be that powerful if we are willing to take them and make sure they are. If we are willing to take that, I arrived in Southbury and this looks pretty interesting. I guess I'll run with it. I guess I'll see how far it will go. And sometimes, let me tell you, things go quite far, further than you could have possibly imagined. Good community organizing means community empowerment. Grassroots means starting right where you stand. Empower each other and make real change in your life and beyond. Support each other in your ideas and passions, big and small, and see what your community will uniquely create. What you've built here is already incredible, and it could be just the beginning. Find your power and channel it right where you stand. Thank you for letting me speak at your proverbial corner this week, and know that you are always welcome to ours. Thank you. Whew.
Thanks, Jeremy. Please join now in the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. Please rise if you're able for our hymn of celebration, We'll Build a Land, number 121. Thank you. That concludes our service, except for the postlude to follow. Thank you, Jeremy, for being with us today.
Thank you.
And for your message. Thanks, Carl. And thanks, Barb, for handling the technical services. And thanks to Sierra Marie and to everybody who had a hand in putting this together. And remember, if you've got the time and the inclination, please stick around, because we do need help taking down the Christmas tree. Joshua Auerbach on the bassoon. Thank you.